Hello you beautiful lot, welcome to another whiskey review with me, the Whiskey Novice. Thank you for joining me for review number 234. And although I said, it's quite a while ago now, that I wasn't going to do any more reviews in a series format, right? Some of you don't remember that. I'm back doing some reviews in a series format. There you go. But look, I did say I wouldn't do any more reviews in a series format, but I always had another series of 12-year-old Scottish single malts in loaded and ready to go sort of thing. You know, the series that I call the Baker's Dozen, 12-year-old Scottish single malts. I always had at least one more series of that in the background. So I'm going to do this series, 12-year-old Scottish single malts. So that's for the next 13 weeks, believe it or not, 12-year-old Scottish single malts. This is the fourth time I've done a season like this, or series like this. And as I said there a moment ago, maybe not the last yet, because there are more out there. And we're starting with Glen Moray 12-year-old. Up there in Elgin, Speyside, owned by Le Martinique Group, I believe they're called something like that. Probably not in that way, but and yeah, Glen Moray, sort of one of those, I'm going to say, sort of accessible, easygoing, and never claims to be anything it isn't. Speysiders. I'm not going to hang around and say things about it yet. Let's just get in and get this review done, because I think there's going to be a few reviews in this season, this series, whatever you want to call it, which may just be some rather simple whiskey. So let's start here. 40% chill filter, colour added. Let's go. Sweet, pear, honey, even honeysuckle, stewed apple, melon, just good old-fashioned yellow melon. Very, very inoffensive. Easy going, fresh, clean, passive malt. And the more you nose this, the longer it sits in the glass and the more you nose it, sort of you get notes of peach melba or even peach melba yogurt, you know, that, yeah. And that's inoffensive and easy going are two very, very good ways to describe this. Palate, soft, sweet, sour, fresh, clean. Lovely. Once again, easy going, creamy, peachy, fruit, soft fruit. That's just off one sip. That's honey. Yeah. It's very difficult. I find sometimes it's very difficult to say anything bad about these. I almost feel guilty. I would almost feel guilty to say anything bad about these sort of. And this to me is, as a matter of fact, Speyside, I'm going to suggest to you, is one of those regions of Scotch whisky, which is, in cases like this, holding on to how we remember it. The lines, and this seems to have been discussed quite a bit recently, the lines have blurred between so many of the regions in Scotland. But to me, this is what I consider classic Speyside. It is all those sort of honey, sweet, soft fruit, gentle, easy-going sort of whiskey. This is all ex-bourbon cask. Finish, fairly short, but nice. Once again, inoffensive, easy-going. I'm going to add a drop of water, not a lot. Yeah, this is, to me, an atypical Speysider. It's never going to offend anyone. I suppose the problem, to a certain extent, if you really wanted to go into it, is that there's an awful lot of distilleries in Speyside. and an awful lot of them are making inoffensive whiskies. 40, roughly £40 a bottle, which, given that it's a fairly simple malt, is getting dear enough now, but it's pretty much the price of a 12-year-old malt. Drop of water didn't change it much. Some light orangey notes, maybe some slight more honey, maybe a touch of honey, and even down the path of honeycomb. Palate, once again, softer. Really, really difficult to be harsh on this. It's, yes, as I said a moment ago, creeping to the £40 mark. It's getting to the point where would you pay that at 40%? I know it's sort of starting to, we don't like to touch on the 40%ers as much as we used to, etc. But it's just difficult to say bad things about it. I would feel cruel if I was saying anything bad about this. Because there's nothing wrong with it. That's the whole idea. That's the thing. That all those creamy peach Melba yogurt notes I was talking about earlier on are in the palate now, and it's actually very palatable. This would be a great, great way to start your whiskey journey. It's better than the blends. It's an inoffensive, will not do you any harm. 12-year-old Speyside single malt. There. I'm not going to say bad things about it because there's nothing bad to say about it. How could I stand here and say something bad about an inoffensive whiskey that doesn't have anything bad about it? It's just good old-fashioned Speyside single malt. Honey, creamy, slightly sweet, slightly floral. There you go. What would I recommend as an alternative? Well, we're creeping outside of the Speyside, but I do say it quite a bit. One of my, I call it my guilty pleasure distillery, and I keep saying that I shouldn't because there's not a damn thing wrong with Glen Moray, in this case the Glen Moray 10-year-old. The only reason I say that it's my guilty pleasure distillery is that, yet again, I think that we a lot of the times consider it a beginner's whiskey. We consider it our starting point, Glen Moray. I don't know, I still love the 10-year-old. I still think the 10-year-old is a beautiful whiskey. 12, the Lasanta, fantastic. The 14, Quintaruban, amazing. The 18, a very good whiskey for what it is, the standard 18. And there's others, and there'll be another one pop up in this series. So if Glen Moray, if that Speyside sort of thing's your thing, now I know I'm bouncing into the Highlands here with Glen Moray, but it's that same sort of inoffensive, punching above its weight. I'm going to suggest, I am going to say that even though this Glen Moray is only 40%, it's got plenty of body going on. I mean, there's enough flavour, etc. going on there. It's not a thin pass. As I said, I did mention the word passive earlier on, but it's not that bad. It's, so I can't see too many people rushing out to buy it. Certainly based on this. Will I replace it? Highly unlikely. This will sit in my cabinet probably forevermore. I'll maybe dip into it when there's visitors coming over. This is the sort of whiskey that a visitor easily poured, just fired into a glass there. It doesn't even need water, and they'll enjoy it. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to say too much more about it. I'm going to say thank you for joining me. As always, thank you very much to my patrons. Should anybody wish to join that group, the details are in the video description below. I'll be back the next time with another 12-year-old from Scotland. Until then, look after yourselves. Here's to your good health. Cheers.
Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please click and subscribe to be notified of further content.